Lapel chokes are very powerful, especially when we get the back and we have a hand in our partner's collar. And when we go to finish, we want to finish with our body, not our arms. So typically when I do the classic sliding collar choke, I'm going to try to separate my chest from them and use my body to finish. Now, a common defense at many different levels is my opponent pushing their weight back on top of me. This can be a real pain, especially if the person is bigger than you, and it's not going to help them escape, but it is going to help them survive the choke. This is a sequence where we kick the partner off of us, and then we get them into a sequence where it leads them down the rabbit hole to submission. Before we get into it, I just want to show that we're going to finish this position in the classic combat-based position, what we call combat-based, with one knee up, one knee down, and my elbow is going to come to my hip. So if I have Jesse's back, now typically if we rotate just a little bit this way, we're going to have a choking hand and an underhook hand that helps control. When I have them, I want to get my hand as deep in his collar as I can. This isn't always possible because they're hand fighting just for the sake of argument, right? This is a type of choke that works really well, even if they do have their defenses in, which we're not going to have Jesse do just for the sake of filming. But I'm going to open and feed, and typically the way I would finish the classic collar choke from the back is I would pull my elbow behind, separate my chest from his spine, and lean off, getting the choke. Now, if Jesse decides that he knows that that's coming, and I'm going to keep this same gripping configuration during the whole sequence. So if Jesse knows that's coming, he's going to push back on me. And again, this isn't going to get him out of the position, but it is going to get him, it's going to stop me from separating his spine from my chest. So what I do is I'm going to take my hooks out, and if we want to just reset the position, I can just sit Jesse back forward and retake the back. You know, you can fall to either side if you want. A lot of people fall to the underhook side. A lot of people fall to the overhook side. Benefits and drawbacks to each. But if I don't want to reset the position and I want to just finish, I do a choke I like to call a kickoff choke, because I'm going to kick him off to one side. So he pushes back on me. Same thing as before, I'm going to take out my hooks, but this time only this hook is going to kick him toward the choke. And as I do it, I lift with my butterfly hook and bang. And then we just go to that combat-based position. I'll do this at speed later, but I want to show, but this choke comes on fast, so I want you to see the details before Jesse just has to tap. All I do is I take my top side elbow to my hip bone. And he taps really quickly, just very, very little strength there. One more time. This time I'm going to do it at speed. At speed, you know, when you drill this, obviously drill each motion individually and drill all the component parts as slowly and smoothly. But at speed, it comes on really fast. And like many lapel chokes, it's very possible to put your partner to sleep, so be careful of that. Open, feed, grip. Partner pushes back on top, down. Right? Comes on really, really fast. Samantha Hallhaber showed me some of the details on this choke that I'll show you to finish. And when she taught a seminar, and when that happened, I almost went to sleep just being the uke. So do be careful with this one. If you pull your elbow to your hip during the kickoff motion, which you should as best practices, your buddy will often be tapping before you even pop up to combat base. So I'm going to do it at a different angle, and this time a little bit slower. I'll do it slow once and fast once. So again, whichever side has the underhook, like back control notes, we have videos about back control, but like underhooks are for control, overhooks are for attack, generally speaking. I can't choke Jesse with this hand. You can do spine locks and things with this hand, but that's it for another time. So we open and we feed. I like to get it as deep as I can just because it gives me options. If I can just do the simple basic sliding collar choke, which never goes out of style, awesome, right? Otherwise, there are also bow and arrow chokes options from here. But for the kickoff choke, I open and feed and get the far side lapel. If it goes wrong and he defends, we'll talk about that in a second video, but you shouldn't let go of these grips because these grips will help you finish no matter what situation you're in. So when he pushes back on top of me, take the hooks out. We could just sit him forward, right? But for this, I'm going to lift and kick him toward this side. Now it's just like I'm standing with base. I post on the mat with my back foot. My top knee comes up to his head, connecting to my elbow, and now I'm just trying to touch the point of my elbow to my hip. And you can probably see that Jesse is tapping when the elbow gets to here. If the elbow gets to the hip and he's still not tapping, maybe because the grip was super loose, because usually they'll tap far before, then you just dip your pinky a little bit like that and it winds the choke very quickly. So one more time at speed. And you know, drill this a little bit. What I love about this, my favorite chokes are chokes that are not overly complex, but are also super smooth when combined with other techniques. What Jesse can do to escape this choke, what a lot of people will try to do is to continue their momentum toward the way you kick them and come to the turtle. When that happens, we keep the same grips and transition to the clock choke, which we'll do in the next video. So I've got my underhook, I got my overhook, I grab, Jesse pushes on top, and what we're gonna do is stick it on. Happens really fast. So you are gonna recall that collar grip, lapel grip on the far side, either clock choke grips or sliding collar choke grips, because you can use those grips for either. Try it out, let me know what you think.